Hi there, and welcome to Films According to Chris Wyatt. Today's film is Terminator Genisys.
Terminator Genisys is the fifth film in the iconic Terminator franchise, which started back in 1984 from writer-director James Cameron.
I'll be back.
I've already talked about the first two movies before, so I won't dwell on them too much, but in short, I consider the first two Terminator movies as two of the greatest films in both the sci-fi and action genres. The second film in particular, 1991's Terminator 2 Judgment Day, I think is a strong contender for the greatest action film ever made. But yeah, excellent movies. I love them both. If you haven't seen them yet, seriously, what the hell's wrong with you? Go check them out. The two sequels that followed, 2003's Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines and 2009's Terminator Salvation, well, their reception wasn't as warm. James Cameron left the series after Part 2, and neither directors Jonathan Mostow or McG were able to replicate the success of the first two films. Both films opted for bombastic action and effects instead of the heart, soul, and smart storytelling from the first two.
After the disappointment of T3 and Salvation, the series was looking a bit long in the tooth. Still, I'll admit that I was genuinely intrigued by the premise for Genisys.
Terminator Genisys opens in the year 2029, where, gonna glance over this since you've hopefully seen a Terminator film, where the war between humans and machines is coming to an end after the Resistance, led by a soldier named John Connor, delivered a major blow to Skynet, the system that controls the Terminators. However, just like in the original, Skynet sends the Terminator back through time to 1984 to eliminate John's mother, Sarah Connor, before John is conceived. In order to ensure the survival of the human race, Connor sends his best soldier, Kyle Reese, back in time to protect Sarah Connor from the original Terminator. Only when Reese arrives in 1984, the past is not what he expected. Sarah Connor is not the scared and timid waitress he was expecting, but rather a battle-worn soldier who has been raised and protected by a reprogrammed T-800 since she was 9.
Come with me if you want to live!
Now, with the timeline changed and a number of Terminators with their sights set on Reese and Connor, the two must navigate through time to unravel the skewed timeline and stop Judgment Day once and for all.
So the film is one of those in-continuity reboots via means of time travel. Fine in theory, since that would give the filmmakers a chance to retcon some of Terminator 3's, let's say, less inspired storytelling. Unfortunately, that turned out to not be the case.
In short, Terminator Genisys is not a good movie. In fact, I'd say the film overall is quite bad. Not terrible, but even if you're not comparing it to the classic first two films, it doesn't rise above anything more than a generic and mostly uninspired run-of-the-mill Hollywood blockbuster.
And I knew this film wasn't going to be as good as the first two, that was always a given. But still, I'll admit I actually did buy into the hype a little bit, if nothing else just for the fact that this film was supposed to redeem some of the errors of parts 3 and 4.
Director Alan Taylor, the filmmaker behind Thor: The Dark World and a few episodes of Game of Thrones, helmed this movie. And while his action chops are passable and some of the film's effects are kind of neat looking, that's not enough to redeem its multiple flaws. For starters, the two leads are really miscast. Jai Courtney as Kyle Reese in particular. Bland, vacant, and completely lacking in charisma, I have no idea why studios keep casting this guy in major roles. Emilia Clarke fares a bit better as the new Sarah Connor, but she never really gets a grip on the character as well as she could have. She hits the right notes, but I can't help but feel that there's just something missing, and as a result she leaves little impression. Not to mention the chemistry between the two actors is pretty much non-existent.
And I really don't want to just spend this review comparing this film to the original, but seeing Clarke and Courtney's lack of chemistry in this film just reminds you of how well Linda Hamilton and Michael Biehn nailed their roles back in 1984.
Come with me if you want to live. Come on!
Of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger returns to the series, and if there's one truly positive thing I can say about this film, it's that Arnold still has it. Even after 30 years, Arnold feels right at home in what's arguably his most iconic role, nailing the memorable mannerisms of the unfeeling killing machine, or in this case, reprogrammed Guardian T-800.
I've been waiting for you.
He's a badass, he's an intimidating force, and he can be funny at times as well. Other supporting actors, such as Jason Clarke as John Connor, recent Oscar winner J.K. Simmons as a paranoid detective, and Korean star Byung-hun Lee as the new T-1000 also appear. They're all quite good, but their parts are relatively brief and as a result feel underutilized.
And yes, Matt Smith has a small part in the film as well, so for all you fan fiction writers, if you haven't started writing your Doctor Who Terminator crossovers, now's the time.
The script is the biggest flaw and can only be described as a convoluted mess. The time travel element of the series was never 100% clear, but with the new changes made to the timeline, many of which go unexplained, it becomes even more convoluted. Maybe it'll get a bit more explanation in future sequels, but for now it's kind of a mess. There's also a good deal of fan service, most of which doesn't work all that well. The first half or so of the movie features a few scenes deliberately recreated from the original, albeit with a few new changes. It's good in theory, and even I'll admit that having a scene with old Arnold fighting a younger Arnold isn't without merit. But other scenes, including the unneeded cameo of a new T-1000, who feels kinda shoehorned in and quickly done away with, just feel forced and unnecessary. The second half of the film at least ventures into some new territory. Unfortunately, a good deal of it was spoiled by the film's recent trailers. Even knowing what was coming, however, it still all felt kind of convoluted and underwhelming. So overall, some of the action is okay, there are a handful of cool effects, Schwarzenegger still rocks, and the movie has a few decent ideas once in a while. But the miscast leads, so-so direction, and mess of a script ultimately ruined this movie. Not the worst thing ever, but I won't be back. I give Terminator Genisys 2 stars out of 5.
I'll be back.
What?
Alright, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you thought of Terminator Genisys by leaving me a comment below. And if you like what you saw and you want to see more, click subscribe and tune in this Monday for a new video. I've also got links to some of my previous videos right here, and links to my social media pages in the description box below. I'll see you next time.